Hello, my loves. Welcome to this week's episode of Enlightened Investments. Today we have our special guest, Tierra Denae, and I'm going to allow her to tell you guys a little bit about herself.
Thank you so much. Very happy to be here with you today. My name is Tierra Denae. I am a licensed massage therapist. I am a yoga teacher and trainer. I am a doula. I am a creative director, web developer, um, marketing. Braid hair. I have a very long list of the things that I do. What I am most passionate about is body work and helping others with intimacy. That has been the bigger portion of my life for the past, say, 3 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I feel like that's a good, complete summary.
Nice. So it sounds like you wear a lot of hats. So I feel like a good question to start with would be, first of all, how did you get started on your own journey of healing and spirituality? And then what really pushed you to say, I want to help other people get to this point?
Absolutely. So, I was just graduating college and had so much trauma from being in relationships and just, working several jobs to put myself through college and survive, and so I had gotten into a place where I had my first bachelorette pad and my own space, and I was looking for something um, that would um, kind of hit all points of wellness, spirituality, um, connectedness with the ether, and something that was just going to be life life generating, generative. And I had gotten into juicing. I stumbled upon juicing, got really into juicing for a while, and started seeing elder Black women who, were like 70, but they were looking 40. And I was like, yo, what are they doing? Like, that's the life I want. Like, I want to have that kind of life and energy and happiness. They were happy. And um, I found yoga. So I started going to yoga classes and things like that and trying out different studios, and finally found a teacher that was amazing and was just hitting a lot of life um, points for me. And I was just like, you come in here and you're actually healing people, you're not giving us a routine to do, you're actually asking about us and how you can help, how our bodies are hurting. I had recently gained a lot of weight as well. And so it was very supportive for me to be catered to in that way, where other classes, it hadn't really been like that. And he was just like, you need to have your own at home practice. Like, you don't need to always come in the studio. You need to be at home doing these things. Um, and I grew up Baptist, but I was never, church never hit for me like it did. I could remember always being like, looking around like, oh, I wish I felt what y'all was feeling in here. I wish I knew what this is
Yeah.
about, I don't really understand, but like, cool, and it just never hit for me. And so I remember being in certain classes, and certain things made me feel like connected to everything. And I was like, oh, this probably is what y'all are feeling in church that I'm feeling here. And I was like, oh, wow. And then he was like, yeah, you need to take it outside of here. Like, you need to go into your own practice. And then, maybe you can also start helping other people. So around that same time, we had found out that my grandfather had stage 4 cancer. And he had, been a drinker all of his life, smoking, and a lot of people in my family smoking and drinking and other sort of
Bad habits.
yeah. So witnessed chance a lot of cancer in my family and things like that. So that was also a big reason for me starting the juicing and things like that.
Mhm.
So that was a very difficult period of time in my life. um I quit my job. I was working a job that I hated. I was working for a Texas education agency at the time, and I was witnessing just very atrocious things that were happening in education, the future of education. And I was just like, yo, I hate this job. And my grandfather wasn't receiving the best care at the time through the hospice company we had contracted. And I was like, you know what? I would love to spend, his final moments here on earth, like with him. Like, fuck this job. So I was like, out. And um, yeah, just was with him I quit that job. I was with him for like a week and then he passed away. And that was like the catalyst for me to be like, okay, I'm going to take this whole yoga thing serious. I'm going to take juicing serious. Like, I don't necessarily see people being the light for our community, and I want to be that. So I'm gonna do this first, and I'm gonna cry. I'm a big baby, but that was the jump start for me wanting to see what healing was like, and how to catch a lot of these bad habits and things before they get to that point, because my grandfather was such a great dude. He was so full of life, and I just, wish I would have a couple more years with him. So, um, I just wanted to one figure out how to make it a lifestyle, and um, realized that it is a journey and not a perfect. It is a practice. They say that for a reason, because life's, and you fall out of things, you fall back into things. With so much healing, you begin to neglect yourself, um, which sounds backwards, but
It's
most
true.
of the healers out here, can tell you so many stories of how that healing is so deep and it's constant. I don't want to ever say that like people should ever like you don't have to be all the way healed up to heal other people, but
Right.
some of us need to take a break. Some of us need to tap out because burnout is real, and healing others from that space is unsafe.
Yeah.
So I will say that.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that. We definitely need breaks. We need our own facilitators and people to hold space for us. Um, but what you said just really took me by surprise, and I almost started crying with you because the same thing kind of happened with me to really step out on faith and start my spiritual business and get that my grandpa got diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. I'm thinking he has months to live, 2 weeks gone. And we didn't know before that he had cancer. So it
Yeah,
was like, I'm thinking he's going to be around for 10 more years at minimum and then gone. And so I felt like I don't have any other choice. I have to do this. Like, and that happened in 2020. And I have always been kind of like on this journey before then, but that was like the last thing that made me say, you can't keep doing what everyone else is doing and then say that you want this type of life. Like, tomorrow is not promised to you, and you need to do this. Even if you just do it in honor of your grandfather, just for the healing purposes of it, you can leave it with that. If that needs to be your motivation, just hit the ground and go. And I did, and I have not looked back since then. So when you were saying that, I'm like, wow, like that's crazy. Like I just got chills.
dang. That's yeah. So yeah, I mean, you feel it. You
Yeah,
know what it's like, and for me, that was the first time I had saw like death really up close. You know, like being in the
yeah,
room, seeing him transition into that phase, and it's something I will never forget. And then also just realizing like this is just the start of that, you know. So then how can I be with y'all longer? You know, how can I at least be here? And then hopefully you take some of the stuff that I'm learning and talking to you about, you take some of it, you take a little bit, and I maybe get a couple of, you know, whatever the stars say, I get at least a couple more hours with you now, versus if we never took this route, we never went to Juice Land that day and you didn't get those 3 juices, you know,
yeah,
now I got a couple, you know, that's the way my head thinks. So that was the big launch into wellness, and I haven't looked back. It's been transformative. I've only feel now that I'm more serious than ever. I feel like there have been moments where, not that I question, but it's just sometimes needed to um, clarify what I was doing, the purpose. Like, so now I feel more rooted in my purpose in wellness and what I'm here to do. And I feel also too that comes from my rooting in the yogic practice and the belief that every single person here, no matter who you are, what you do, you have a duty in this lifetime. And you may not find it, you know, when you're 15. You might not find it when you're 30. You might find it right at the end of your life, you know. But it's we're meant to do something. We're meant to do something here.
yeah.
So I feel like I found it finally, like what I'm supposed to be doing.
I love that. Yes, we definitely are meant to do something and something that's bigger than us, something that leaves an impact. I did an interview yesterday, and the lady said that she's talking about touch, and she said that every time she touches her husband or she hugs her husband, that she'll say like, "I'm just giving you a little bit of energy to add a couple more days onto your life." And I was like, "That's very powerful." I was like, "I'm gonna start doing that." And she was like, "Even if like people are giving unwanted touch, or like if there's some type of energy exchange," she was like, "just give it direction." She was like, "A lot of people don't think about giving their touch direction unless they're actually using touch in a healing manner. But just simply putting your hands on somebody and giving it intention can be powerful." And when you just said that, it brought me back to her statement, because I'm like, that's very true. And we never know like how little things, like on Saturdays when me and my wife go hiking and then treat ourselves to Juiceland, how we might be adding 3 more days onto our lifespan just by
Yes,
people, you know? So that's profound. There's definitely someone that's gonna watch this that needs to hear it for sure. Um,
yes.
okay, so my next question to you is, how would you say that the concept of energy plays a role in our spiritual and sexual experiences? And how would you say that understanding this energy can enhance our well being? Because I think a lot of people now are coming into the understanding of what energy is, and that energy is in everything. But I don't think a lot of people are really cognizant of the impact that energy can make.
Um, yeah, I'm like, that's a deep ass question. That like that. I like that because you said the impact of it. And I was having a conversation about this earlier because I love Twitter. I'll be on Twitter talking shit and just keeping up. It's like I think still, even though it's chaotic, still like the quickest like news source kind of thing. And so recently what has been, you know, popular, what's been going around is this incel energy that has been instilled into teenage boys, to where they are going out and killing women. So there was recently, like, I think it's in London, somewhere in Europe, like they're rioting and stuff right now because the 17-year-old boy was going up to his ex and was trying to get her back, but he had a machete with him. So it was premeditated. Either she was going to accept his flowers or get the machete. And she didn't accept it. So when I guess he went to lunge for her with the knife, her friend jumped in front of her. 15-year-old little Black girl jumped in front of her and now is dead because of this. And so people have been talking about Andrew Tate and all these other men, you know, who have been coming out and just been speaking so poorly about women or like trafficking and just all kinds of stuff. So I say all of that to bring it back to this question of energy and the impact that it has. And when people don't understand, you know, the energy of my no doesn't mean anything about you. It is about me.
Mm-hmm.
It is about what I want. It is about how I feel. It is about what I desire. It is about my pleasure. It is about my yes, my excitement and my yes. All of that is energy. That is energy. So if I say no to you, you have to understand my energy isn't calling to you. It is not for you, it's for me. And wherever my energy goes and feels, you know, free and feels like it can breathe and expand and be warm and encompassing, that's where I'm going to go. And I feel like people don't have a concept of that, just baseline. People don't have a concept of that. We live in a very I want, and I want from others. And I don't know why. I don't know why I want so much from other people and not from me, or I can't sit back and tap into things that make me feel pleasured just to myself, self pleasure, self love. So you end up having people who act out, who receive then that um, you know, twisted energy, because then I feel like it's a twist to that of whatever I said no to you about, you've now taken and it's been twisted. So now your twisted energy is meeting with other twisted energies, and then it's a mob effect, you know, and that's where it's like the importance of your impact, the places that you show up in and how you show up in and who's around you, all of those things, you know, it's it's going to amount to something.
Yeah.
And whatever that is, I would hope that it's, again, pleasurable, warm, encompassing. And when it's not, you have situations that just happen. You have people who refuse to connect to that source, that self source, um, and they're just they're outwardly grasping. Um, can you remind me of the first part of your question? Because I'll take the
Oh,
second part.
how you did answer the second part. So how does the concept of energy play a role in your spiritual and sexual experiences? Well, not yours, but ours, just collectively speaking.
So, for me, the role that it plays spiritually is I guess to that second part of where my energy is led. When it's led and how it's received. So, um, I'm often I'm often not necessarily applauded, but um, admired, perhaps. We'll say admired with my move on game.
Mhm.
like, um, My move on game, my cutoff game, my block game is strong. I love it. Because hopefully things don't have to get to a block, but they do. Um, but for situations that are not full on block, if I feel like it's not working, like again, if we're hitting knocking heads in anything, if I go to a restaurant and they bring out my food and it does not look as pictured, and I say, hey, do you mind like taking this back, this doesn't look good, I would like something else, and they're rude to me or anything like that, that's not the place for me. I'm probably gonna leave.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna sit here and tussle with you or call your manager or do any of that. And that bothers some people because people want, their justice, their retribution, all those things. For me, it's energy. That wasn't meant for me. I'm out, bet. Because I got like 5 more places where I know I'm gonna go in there. And I'm like, Tierra, we got
Yeah.
children. And that's the energy that I want. That's where my I'm gonna expand. I'm gonna glow. I'm gonna open up. I'm gonna be like, hell yeah. But that exchange right there, that told me everything I needed to know. It's not meant for me. And that's okay. And there's no fault on you. Maybe you had a bad day, but I don't want whatever your bad day is cooking up in that kitchen. And the people and other energies that allowed you to keep working today and didn't tell you to take your ass home and take a day off and care for you, y'all fucked up too. I don't want no parts of it. I'm out. And that's how I roll with friendships, relationships, anything in my life. If it's not a full yes, an enthusiastic fuck yeah, it's a no. I'm not gonna keep. I might try a little bit. I'm not gonna say that I won't try. But if it becomes too much, then it's not meant for me. And if it also feels easy to let go of, then I'm gonna let it go because that feels good, and I like to feel good.
I
So,
love
yes.
that. That's good. That's good perspective. I think a lot of people, like you said, they want the retribution, they want the redemption out of the situation, but they don't realize how in that fight, how energetically taxing that can be. And if you just say yes to things that are for you and no to things that are not for you, things will align a lot more in your favor easily without you having to push and force and try. So I think that's a great practice of initiating that within yourself. So I love that. I feel like, you know, there's been times where we probably all have been fighting for things that we should have just left alone in the first place.
Absolutely,
So
absolutely. I believe in transformation too. Things change and transform, and I've been very resistant to that as an energy transformation, and not realizing its part and its role that it plays in my life. But I'm very much more into it these days, and how things can just transform to something new, or um, you know, when you're in a groove, after a while, sometimes you groove a lot, you'll groove right through, and there's a hole. Um, Hopefully, what I'm landing to in that groove is soft. But if it's not, that energy is going to transform, and I'm going to find a different way. When it comes to sexuality, that energy, again, it's it's first and foremost about consent. And if my body and energy isn't consenting to something sexual, then again, it's an easy no. If it's not a hell yes, it's a no. um and I feel like with that, it's taken, let's see, I got a leg up on it, I would say like 2014. Um, just my sexuality, um, and things that I was interested in and things that had happened to me. I realized how just the conversation about pleasure was missing. Like um the autonomy and body anatomy information, those things. You had health class, but there's just certain things that you were not told about yourself. So, I think back to like when I, first was a kid, having sex or sexual activity versus now being a woman and having sex. Like, I just wish I could go back to myself and be like, baby girl, this is not happening because this ain't happening. Um, and same thing, I wish I could go back to myself in college and be like, girl, this ain't happening because this isn't happening. Or when I not remembered, but my second uh queer awakening happened, like I leaned in, but I didn't dive in, and I wish I could go back to her and say, girl, dive in, so there's just so many points that I'm a nostalgic person, so I always can go back and look at myself and be like, wow, you really did trust your energy in that situation, and had you not done that, you wouldn't have gotten yourself here right now, or during that situation, like, wow, like I really applaud myself for my intuition. Even sexually, I applaud myself for that, and I wish more people did, because it would increase the energy that you need in those situations, because there shouldn't be a reason you're with a partner and they're unwilling to, slow down if you're asking them to slow down. There's an energy there, right? And if you're not flowing and we're not feeling that together, there's a block. There's something that's not. And some people go past that. They don't pay attention to it. And then we're somewhere having a conversation, because I have a lot of friends that like to live vicariously through me. And they're like, well, I can do that. And I'm like, yeah, you can do that shit. And they're just like, oh wow, well, I never, because this. And it's like, you got to trust yourself, and you have to find the right people to be around. And that's yeah, that's what I would say about that.
Okay, that was good. Definitely got to find the right people to be around because there's just a safety in the intimacy that is necessary. But a lot of people don't even realize the lack of awareness or intention or even attention in the midst of intimacy until after the fact. And then they have all these feelings that they don't know how to process. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like you definitely hit on a few points there, but um definitely energetically speaking, consent is important for sure, but also just you need to be comfortable enough with yourself that you're comfortable enough to be able to tell someone else what you want or how you feel, or if something is too much. So that way they can adjust and you're not just going through the motions. Because really, if you're having sex and you're just going through the motions, you might as well just not even do it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I would say I have several situations, even of my own self, where it went from, I'm here with you, to where my head is somewhere else and my body's here. And I just remember that. And I just wish I could go back and be like, girl, that's not the reason this is happening, is because it's not for you. And you're trying, or you're disassociating right now because of that. Or wearing a mask, that came up recently with a friend of mine, about being in certain places or being around certain people, and you have a mask that you put on, not anything bad, but it's a thing you do. And how great it feels to be around, people that you don't have to do that with. And I was just like, damn, I hate that for us. I hate that sometimes we do have those situations where you just naturally have to create a barrier. And I wish for more safer spaces where we could be comfortable in just saying what it is, how it is, respectfully. Supportive communication is art form, you know, a lost art probably. Um, and yeah, I just hate that for us sometimes. We don't
Yeah,
have more safe spaces with one another.
yeah. It's tough. I'm glad that it seems like there's an evolution or transformation that's happening though, where more people are starting to create those spaces. So I'm grateful for that. What would you say with regard to people that have sexual trauma and are looking to heal sexually or find sexual liberation? Because I know that usually with people who have a lot of sexual trauma, they're going to one extreme or the other, where they're asexual and closed off, or they're extremely hypersexual, and that's their way of gaining control over their sexuality. Um, with the work that you do and kind of just redirecting that energy for people, what would you say is like a good way to find balance or bring center to that so they can at least clearly see themselves, but then also lean into that liberation?
Definitely getting some sort of sex therapist in your life. There are a lot of the communities and support that I've had over the past couple of years have all been very deep into sexual doula energy, tantric work, and kink. And I would say the very like first step is finding a sex therapist, especially if you are trying to kind of like re-enter a sexual space. If you're, you know, having more psychological things, like definitely therapy. But if you're trying to, you know, re-enter sex with other persons, with yourself, finding the time to meditate and journal about what your desires are and things like that. Definitely a way to begin on that path. So finding a sex therapist and then just also sitting with yourself. Um, Touch and things like that, I feel like come very later, you know, having to one, deprogram what we think and know about touch. Um, Touch doesn't even start with putting your hands on someone else. It starts with the energy, sitting in the room with that person and just even feeling safe to talk about your body. Um, and from there, you know, the consent of what is the practitioner or person that you're working with able to do with you. I feel like this begins empowerment, you know, in choices, um, certain things that traumas might have made us feel like we didn't have, you know, and choosing to say, okay, yes, I am looking for someone to give me a yoni massage. I am looking for someone to take me through a intimate practice of breath work or some sort of kink or impact or rope play. Saying wholeheartedly yes that I'm looking for those things, and then finding people that align with what you're trying to explore, open up with yourself. Conferences, education, even I feel like has been really big right now, especially within the BIPOC community when it comes to sex, intimacy, and kink. I feel like it's exploded actually. So there's so many resources right now for people to begin their sexual liberation journey. But education, is going to be everything because, like I said, the things that I know now and how I could have empowered myself even 3, 5 years ago, had I said, oh, let me look at this workshop, that would have taken me down a whole different road. Or I wish I would have went over there and talked to that person because I heard that they did this work, kind of thing, and just never did. So I feel like sometimes, things come up and people see it, but then they allow, conditioning, family, friends, people who aren't necessarily into things like that, affect their decisions and where they would show up in that space. Like, oh my gosh, you're going to a sex conference? Like when I told my mom, she was like, "Are you having sex with people?" I'm like, "No, mom, I'm not having sex with anybody there." Not having sex with anyone at a sex conference or, that have dungeons and things like that after hours. No.
Yeah.
Um, but, with that, I feel like you said, it is becoming more of an open thing and people are able to find things. So lean into that. Lean into the curiosities that you have because your healing does depend on it. And if you're always seeing and seeing and seeing and never doing and doing and doing, then you're just going to be where you're at, and that's okay. But if you are trying to find a different way, definitely lean into what you're curious about. Sexual liberation is a wonderful way to also find out more about yourself, and your truth, and um, yeah, yeah.
Nice. Are there any specific meditation, energy work, mindfulness exercises that you would recommend to someone just seeking to deepen their connection with their own um sensuality or spirituality, like just something that they can do just on their own?
Yeah, there's I'm like, I think in urban tantra, and I have a couple of other like lesbian tantric books, that specifically talk about breath work and self pleasure, self masturbation, or even mutual masturbation with your partner, working on erotic energy. And so, um, yeah, most of mine are in the books, but one that I personally do, I will either do in the bathtub because I'm a water baby. But just as simple as being in the bathtub with the lights off, breathing, and also feeling um, my sacral energy just kind of pull up to my crown and go back down as I'm breathing, and self pleasuring at the same time. um, Music, something like I have like a Reiki healing Spotify playlist, just something very um, kind of nothing that's going to excite me and take me out of my trance that I'm having. Oh, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Oh, okay. Okay.
Like even
Um,
something toned.
yeah, something even toned. Sometimes there are, they call it solfeggio, healing tones, and they have different frequencies for certain things. So just depending on like if I'm like, not to say like I'm not going in with an intention, but like if I'm like, okay, I am going in to um heal my lack of feeling safe and supported right now, there's a frequency for that. And so I'll do my yoni meditation in the water with that, and my self pleasuring with that. But there's so many things that you can kind of even make for yourself. The books always have suggestions and like meditations, doing it in specific ways. And then for me, because I have a couple of different lineages, I've just made what feels supportive for my practice. So I encourage people to figure out what works for you and also tap into places that, you have innately that you just maybe have like looked over. I tell people like, okay, so when you're like on the couch and you're just like watching TV and you stick your hand in between your legs and it's like that comfort and safety, that's a yoni meditation. What you're
Mhm.
doing right there is still a yoni meditation. You are doing self Reiki and healing on yourself in a very comfortable and safe space. And the reason you even have your hand there is because you feel safe enough to do it. You wouldn't go outside and put your hand on your coochie while you're walking around with people, unless you're just a thug like me and like, what's up? But when you're at home, cozy, and you're in that safe place where your digestive system is moving and you're hearing sounds and you're feeling floaty in that in between space, that is meditation, baby. You are giving yourself self healing right then, right there. So, I tell people, just kind of look at those things in your life that you're already doing and then amplify it. So then if you're doing that on the couch, ooh, maybe go pick up that Palo Santo and some sage and burn it around the house and open up a window and then go lay back down and then start breathing, you know? Um, yeah, it's just so many things, so many different ways that you can tap into yourself. That's just really simple. I just, natural magic that's already happened in your life, just amplify it.
Mhm. I would say everything can be a ritual. It's just a matter of intention. So,
Absolutely.
um, I want to talk to you a little bit about body work because I'm also a massage therapist and I don't think I've had another massage. Nope, I had one. But honestly, we started talking about other things and we didn't really much into body work. So I want to talk to you a little bit about body work. Um, I, for one, believe that touch is very healing just on its own, but um, I think everybody should go to massage school. And the reason why I think that is because I didn't really understand the human body to the degree that I understand it now until I went to massage school, even though I had other formal schooling and I taken anatomy and all the things. Um, and so I think everyone should get that understanding, but I think a lot of people view massage as like a luxury type of experience. Um, but in all actuality, it's very necessary to our mental, emotional, psychological, and physical healing. There's even scientific studies that will tell you that, receiving hugs or receiving touch regularly will add years onto your life or will increase your dopamine levels and things of that nature. And I've been watching you for a while, so I've seen you do just regular massage. I've seen you do like Thai massage type stuff. Um, and I think you have your own kind of formula for body work. And so I want you to talk a little bit about that and like what led you to putting those components together.
Absolutely. So I feel like one, I've always been a body worker. Like I've always been giving massage, like since I was younger. And when you talked about like everyone needs to go to massage school, like definitely everybody needs to go to school for body work. One of my like triggers is when people are doing it on the side, and I'm just like, you do what you do, that's fine, but like the fact that you don't have any anatomy training bothers me. That bothers me. Like you need to know what you're doing, because one, as much as people love doctors, you're seeing us more than you're seeing your doctor. You know what I'm saying? So like, don't try to act like I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm seeing your body more than your doctor sees your body. And when you see your doctor, you're seeing your doctor for 30 minutes and they're giving you pills and they're giving you something like that. And then they're referring you sometimes to what? A massage therapist.
Mm-hmm.
So don't sleep on the knowledge that you gain from actually going to school. So hell yes to that. Um, I from yoga to going to, where was I at? Went to Thailand. Went to Thailand, and like you said, people think that it's a luxury. It's a way of life over there. Every street has like a minimum of 5 to 6 Thai yoga massage studios. The massages are $5 to $7 USD. So when you're backpacking around Thailand, you're gonna need body work. I was getting massages like you wouldn't believe. And then to see how the process was, we would go in, went to several different ones. Everybody's different, but there was one thing that kind of remained the same. They feed you, they wash your feet when you come in as a ritual. Um, and then they get to work and there's a routine. And after the end, they feed you at the end. They give you cookies, little bananas, some water. And I was just like, wow, like that's so nice. What an experience. And it was just, it was enlightening to me. And then we went to another city, Chiang Mai, and the women's prison on Wednesdays, they're in the courtyard giving Thai body work because it's rehabilitative skills. So I'm like, that's why there's friggin' 5 to 6, because everybody's opened up their own business.
Yeah.
And they're making money. So I'm like, you're also using the healing to rehabilitate the folks that you got, and then they get to get out and they get to make money, and they're also,
My
I
yeah.
was like, this is a whole vibe. I'm like, this is a whole vibe. I love the whole flow of this. I feel it. I'm into it. Um, and that's when I went, and I was just like, yo, I'm gonna go back to the US, and it's gonna be hella hard for me to pay that 120 for a massage where the person isn't really even hitting all the spots and doing what I need them to do. And I've been here, paying $5, and I feel like a brand new person, like everything is stretched and I feel open. So from there, coming back here, I was like looking for a Thai program. And I was looking at Robert Gardner for a while, even went and did a couple of sessions with him. But then I ended up ultimately working at Stretch Lab, and they did assisted stretching. And they had a whole program created, and I excelled. Best employee that they had. My books were completely filled. I really got down with the assisted stretching because it reminded me of the Thai body work that we were doing. It's the same thing, same thing. They just call it assisted stretching over here, but it's Thai. It was a way for them to also skip over certain laws in Texas, because at that time as well, they were actually trying to get all the stretch labs shut down when they opened up in Texas. There was a guy, he was probably still in the Austin massage therapy archives. He had like filed a complaint because he felt like it was soft tissue that they were getting away with doing massage, and it wasn't. But while I was there, I realized there were certain things that stretching wasn't always going to get. There were certain things I was seeing in my clients that I was like, damn, if I knew how to, I would be able to. Because in Stretch Lab, we had 2 physical therapists that were working there. We had a massage therapist, a yoga teacher, and we also had a personal trainer. So I'm also getting, it the best knowledge base that I could get on things, I was getting in that space because of the different ideas. We all have training in anatomy. There's also doctors of physical therapy in here. So if I had a question, if I wasn't doing something correctly, so I loved Stretch Lab for that. And that's when I realized, oh, I'm gonna have to go to massage school because I want to do soft tissue work. Before that, I was already doing like tantric work, but there was no anatomy education in that, and most of that is non-touch. It's Reiki. So I was like, okay, I need to learn this, and then went to Lauderstein Conway. best in my class again. Like I had already, I'd picked up things already. So like I killed in the program. And that's when I was also like this shit just runs through me. Like this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Because certain people are struggling with, concepts or pacing and time, and it's just very natural and easy. So as I, am picking up certain things from Lauderstein and Conway, I'm also seeing a shit ton of holes because y'all are also teaching about two body types, male and female, gender, genitalia, and that's not what the world looks like. And we're not also talking about people who are going to need a bigger fucking table than what y'all are providing right now. And also there's just, there's just holes. I'm kind of like a picky little bitch when it comes to my education. So when there's things like that, I'm just like, oh, okay, bet, like, yeah, just not gonna teach us about this. Okay, cool. Got it. Like I don't get very, like, I'm just like, I need to know more about this and you're not teaching me more about this. And that just doesn't feel good. And then there were moments in the class where, students were getting into it with our instructor about the fact that we don't like pregnancy being considered a condition. Like, can we come up with a better word? So then we're just talking about language and the way that you, in your lens, you're looking at someone's body, and I'm not looking at their body like that. So then there's just all these other light bulbs going off in my head about who's touching me, the people that I'm going to receive who want my touch, what they're going to assume about me, for me to never assume about anybody ever. And also, like, yeah, for other therapists out there, like, how are you receiving people? So my technique kind of developed from all of those places, seeing the holes in certain aspects, as well as having, work done on me. And I would say, like, a good way to describe like a general session with me would be like kind of a sensory based massage, because there's different elements. There's temperature, there's scents, there's the touch in itself, there's taste after, that aspect of just like making a complete session. You get rest in that session. I was working on somebody yesterday, they were out in 20 minutes, the decompression sort of thing. Like, yeah, I would say it's my massage is very sensory based. And it definitely came a lot from like realizing there's more than one way to touch and heal and support someone, especially people who think that they've lost range of motion, or people who don't stretch regularly. Like, one of my very prized stories is restoring range of motion for a 70-year-old who couldn't reach up over his head. Like, that was so empowering for me, because I'm just like, you just needed someone to help you, and if we did more of that every day, like, everyone would be great, but we don't.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd say that's kind of like how my
I,
are.
I went to Lauderstein and Conway as well. I went in 2017. I liked the program, but I too did feel like there were holes. I did like that they did put some energy on like the energetic aspect of massage, because a lot of schools don't. And I also like that they teach craniosacral therapy, because I feel like that's like a deeper level of healing. Um, but I felt like there were a lot of holes in the program. There weren't a lot of modifications taught for people of different body types, or people with different, disabilities and things of that nature. And so as a practicing massage therapist, I just had to figure all of that out as I
Mhm.
went. And it wasn't until I started getting more body work myself that I was able to figure it out, because trying to do it in practice, I don't know, it's just not the same as just being able to feel it yourself.
Yeah.
Um, and then one of the things that my instructor struggled with when I was in massage therapy is I have a Burt's effect. So this arm that connects my elbow to my wrist is backwards. So I can't supinate this hand.
Oh,
Um, so like trying to teach myself like modifications to do certain techniques was also difficult.
oh,
But at the end of my clinicals, they were like, "You're one of the best therapists that we have. Everyone's like raving and reviewing about you." And I'm just like, "Oh wow, like that's good to hear." We're here thinking I'm struggling. So
yeah.
by the time I graduated, I was like, I know I don't really want to work for anyone because I feel like they're going to put me into a box, and I need to figure out what's my style as a massage therapist. And so I did that. And, I love massage. I will say that spiritual counsel and astrology has taken over my business. So I do a lot more of that now than I do massage, but I love it. I think everyone should at least get massage once a month, if not more, just for the purpose of realignment and energy balancing, for sure.
Absolutely. I just feel like if we learned, because I love anatomy so much, and I feel like it's, you know, some of the more basic things that we need to be taught as children versus all this other shit. Like if we could start from an anatomy point, we would be so much better off if we learned how our bodies worked, so that working would be different. And gathering things and plant, but if we learned how our bodies work, we would be in such a different place, human wise, because I feel like we don't also value the fact that this is a whole machine working together to do certain things. We don't have the honor, and the gratitude in the body that we should. And so much so that people just, they don't care, and they take people's lives from their bodies because they just don't understand how much of a gift and machine and wonderland that the body is and can be. So yeah, I'm just like, we need better anatomy teaching in schools. And it's crazy because like I did not fuck with anatomy in high school.
Me
Like
either.
I was not an anatomy girl. And now that I look back, I was like, it's probably the way that I was taught. I'm more interested in anatomy now because I enjoy moving, stress and pain through people's bodies, as well as encouraging pleasure and love. So I'm like, that's probably why it didn't stick for me, because you're teaching me all the other like super sciencey stuff, and I don't want to know that.
Yeah, but really, like, they should start teaching anatomy and neurology, like, in grade school, because we just understood our neuropathology and our anatomy, we, as a human race, would be so much further along. I
So much
wholeheartedly,
along.
yeah. Wow, this has been so good. Okay, I have a few more questions for you. We've got about 15 minutes left. Um, this is random. I'm just gonna randomly ask you a question just to break up some ice and take us into left field. So I'm heavily into astrology. I've always been an astrologer at heart, and like the best thing that I could have ever done was adding astrology to my business. So one of the questions that I ask everyone that comes on the pod is, what is your sun, moon, and rising sign? And how would you say that it affects you spiritually first, and then in your relationships second?
Ooh. Pisces sun, Cancer moon, Leo rising. And I would say that, how does it affect me? Wait, you said, how does it affect me in my life?
In how does it affect you spiritually? Like, how do you feel like it shows up in your spiritual path and your spiritual gifts? And then in your relationships?
So my spiritual path and how it affects me, I would definitely say like my intuition is on like 10,000. My psychic abilities, again, like I just be knowing shit. I just be knowing shit. I just be knowing shit, and it is insane. Um, the whole what is it called? Deja vu kind of energy. I like just it surrounds me in life. Black people, that baby done been here before. It's like that kind of energy. But I also think it's because I'm on life path 9 too. So I'm about to like completely restart.
Yeah.
And it feels like that in my life right now. Like everything that I either do or conversations that I have, um, it sometimes feels like I'm outside of myself watching myself have them. And also spiritually, like my dreams and things like that, like I actually like some people like to amplify their dreams. I enjoy smoking weed at night so that my dreams are settled and or that I do not dream, because I lucid dream and I also astral project, and there have been times where it's hard to come back to my body.
Yeah.
So I was having this conversation with someone else. I also have a Venus Pisces. My Pisces is in Venus. So transitioning this to my relationships, I'm a lover girl. Like I'm a lover girl, a romantic. I romanticize relationships, and that probably is my downfall, because I will unfortunately take one thing and run with that shit as to why we should be together, and then realizing like, girl, you are delulu. That is not true. Get the fuck out. um so but I know that about myself, and again, it's just like i'm I'm either doing it to laugh about it, like sometimes that, yeah, just like that Avatar energy, second life, I just be doing shit sometimes. And I would definitely say that in both just spiritually and in relationships. I just be like, I'm gonna just see what happens, because like I feel like I live with good energy, and so I attract good shit. And why not? Let's just see, let's just see what happens. And for the most part, it's been chaotic, but I like chaos, and I navigate it well, and I ain't dead yet, so we just gonna keep riding it out.
Not dead yet.
I'm just saying, YOLO. Like, I don't like Drake, but that was like one of the best things that he's ever said. YOLO, you only live once. It is true. So I like to live. Um, and then also how it shows up in relationships, like I can always tell, I know how people feel, and I can tell is partially the impact. But um the psychic part in my relationships scares people, because they just be like, you were talking about this shit 2 days ago, and I was like, I know, and I'm scared too.
We scared together. We just gonna have to figure it out.
Just gonna keep going. But yeah.
I love that. You actually have, I can imagine that sometimes it is chaotic, but um you actually have a pretty good balance that makes sense with your career path and like your just explorative nature, because it's like you don't have all of the dogma that everyone else has. Like Leo energy can be sometimes a little bit what is the word that I'm looking for? Resistant to change. But overall, Leo knows that it's the sun and you're not going to take away its light, and whatever it sees for itself will manifest. Cancer people are very much like, I'm going to always focus on healing of the heart and redirecting that love and emotional energy. And I want everyone to feel comfortable and safe when they're in my presence. But at the same time, Cancer has the water earth dynamic going on. So it's like I'm practical enough to actually put some business sense and education behind what I'm doing, but I'm flowy enough to actually allow things to play out as they will and trust that things will happen in their own timing. And then with Pisces, it just gives you a whole spiritual edge altogether, especially having your sun and Venus in Pisces, because it's just like, at this point, I don't have any limits, so I can do whatever I want. world is just gonna have to meet me. So I
That is
that.
energy. Yes, that is literally the energy. Um, and I would say too, like I have because I be all into the astrologies, and that's like the first thing I do when I meet people. I'm like, just go ahead and run me a whole birth thing so I can figure out when we gonna block each other. When,
Mhm.
but one of the things that I read recently that was kind of funny because I go back and I'll read. I'm on Astro, and I'll go back and I'll read. I think it's like the personal something, but it said I can't remember which house. I'll look back and I'll send it to you, but it was like I'll be known in secret societies and private clubs. And I love that. And I'm cracking up because I'm like, oh, that's my kink life. Okay. But
Yeah.
it's literally in my star chart. And I was like, that's hilarious. That is hilarious. Um, so yeah, I love astrology. It shows up in so many ways, especially like my partnerships. One like and it's also so funny because the people who do not believe in astrology, I'm like, if you go to India, they base their whole like matchmaking and life and love off of astrology. How dare you talk about it's not that serious, baby? It's fully serious. It's deep. Like, don't play. Do not
No,
play.
he is. I really think that astrology needs to be taught as like an official science, and people need to stop discrediting it because it really does affect us at every level. It really does. Like in doing the work that I've done and just doing so many different astrology readings, it really does identify everything. I'm talking about sexual trauma, childhood issues, hair loss, like all kinds of things that you would never expect to identify in a natal chart. It's in there. So I'm
I
full for all things astrology.
I wish that I could find my mom's birth time. We cannot find her birth time, so we can't figure out her things. Do you
Order a
know?
birth certificate for her.
I don't
I
think it
think
was on.
it's like $25 to do it. It's not on there.
Mm-mm. Like they didn't take it down or something.
That's how I found my mom's because she couldn't tell.
Because we asked my grandmother, she doesn't remember, and then my mom has her birth certificate and doesn't have it on there. But maybe, yeah, like maybe they will if we order it again. I'll order it again and try. But I did my grandmother's, and I was like, whew, this makes sense. All this makes sense. Oh, I was like, see, if y'all would have knew this, mm,
And I wouldn't be having all these problems.
that I'm like, if everyone would have figured out their shit first, we would have
Yep.
been.
And you want to know something cool? So, well, not cool. It's actually a little crazy and it drives me crazy. But my grandmother is a Leo sun and she's a Capricorn moon and Scorpio rising. I am a Capricorn sun, Leo moon, Scorpio rising. My mom is a Libra sun. Her sign is in my 12th house. And my mom and my grandma do not have the best relationship. Me and my grandma don't have the best relationship. And I feel like I've had to mother my mom her whole life. And I'm just like, wow, that's definitely some karmic astrology for your
For real. For real. I feel like, we do get into that space of not necessarily mothering our mothers, but I feel like at least other friends that I've talked with, we're all in a space of healing. So we're able to see, and some of our moms ain't able to see, or they're able to see, but they're not able to apply,
Right.
and that be what be fucking them up. Is like, okay, you see it, but you okay, cool, you're not gonna do nothing about
Like,
it. Fine.
just let it be. I
Yeah,
can't, I don't know if it's the Scorpio rising in me, but once I know something that needs to transform, it's like I have to transform it. I have to move through it. I have to fix it. I can't just
Scorpio.
not. I have to. Otherwise, it drives me absolutely insane.
Yes. Yes. I'm a deep lover of Scorpios. Like I surround myself with Scorpios purposefully. Like if I find out you're a Scorpio, I'm like that. But my partner is a Scorpio, and then my best friend is a Scorpio. And yeah, the just wild characters. Chaotic, truly. Unhinged, really, but love them to death.
So fun.
So fun. So fun. So
So,
fun. Ready to burn it all down
mhm.
and light the cigarette from it.
Yep, just rebuild like nothing ever happened.
It never happened. But I'm gonna go through the pain. I'm gonna go
Yeah.
through it. I'm like, that's probably why. Because I'm like, as a Pisces, yes, let's be sad together. Let's be sad and then burn it down.
Yeah.
Stuff.
My Capricorn saves me from that craziness because usually I can pull myself back. But I am a Scorpio stellium, and
I'm a
specific.
Capricorn.
I've got my sun. I mean, not my sun. I've got my Scorpio rising, and then my Venus is also on Scorpio,
Ooh.
and it's just really sometimes intense. I think for especially for other people, like I've gotten used to being sick of myself. But especially for other people, I think sometimes it's just like this girl, and then she's a Capricorn, like with the lead, like what the fuck? What like I did not ask you to tell me about my whole life and try to figure everything out in the moment that you just met me. What's wrong with you? And I'm like, look, like this is just what I'm here to do. I don't really know any other way to be. Like, I don't know what y'all want from me. Primary
Yes.
made up of Capricorn and Scorpio energy. I've got 2 Sagittarius placements. That's it. Like, that's it.
Where are your Sag?
Mercury and Mars.
Yeah.
Yep.
My Mars is in Gemini.
Yeah. So I just be like, I don't know what y'all want from me. Like the intensity is just gonna be there. There's
There. Yeah. It's just gonna be there.
mm-hmm. But yeah, no, I feel like your placements are very in alignment with what it is that you do, and it really does show up like in your energy without you having to say it. I was surprised that you had the Leo in there just because I was expecting you to say 3 water signs, but with the way that people respond to your energy, it's not surprising.
I was gonna say, I think too, I feel like most of the time people guess correctly when they ask me like what my signs are. And then when I tell them the Leo, they're like, ah, okay, I see the Leo now. I understand the Leo now. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, I wouldn't see why, or the showiness as well, because I'm very particular about certain things. So even for myself, because I'm like, oh, there are like certain ways for me that my Leo shows up that I'm not always like aware of, and then I can look back and be like, oh, okay, that was, and it was that, and how I do this, that's why. It's not like typical Leo things, but it makes sense for me. um but I love to, figure out how like the dynamic works with people, especially when you feel that energy, when you feel like that tug in that pull. I'm like, oh, run them digits real quick. I'm gonna see what this is like, because why are we drawn to each other? What is it? And I recently did that with someone else, and then we did like the pattern, and it was like soulmate, like that came up, and I was like, there it is. I'm like, because what are we feeling? Like, why does this feel so good? And it's like, oh, that's literally like one of your life mates. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. I like that.
Yes, yes, for astrology. Okay, I got one more question for you, and then I'm gonna let you just add whatever else you want to add. Tell the people where to find you. Don't forget to send me all your links.
Yes.
I also end every episode with a postcard from Spirit, so I'm gonna pull one.
Ooh.
Um, but my question to you is, how do you envision the future of spirituality, energy healing, and sexual healing intersecting and evolving? That's the first part of the question. And then what role do you hope to play in this ongoing transformation?
I feel like what's up next are more safe spaces, retreat spaces, education spaces, conferences. I feel like it's going to expand and more people will start to shift the way that they think about spirituality, sexuality, and how they intersect. I think that will start like awakening in people and hopefully like translating up and through the channels of politics and how people are treated based on their professions. And hopefully, like I said, that education piece, I just feel like that, I hope that that trickles into our kids and developing minds so that we have a better approach when it comes to self management. Um, and then my role in that, I feel like, is the gatherer. Like in one of my more recent retreats, which was about um, like the tantric path and sacred sexuality. One of the cards that I pulled was the goddess of gatherings, and so I feel like that's my role, is to bring people together. This past weekend, we had a intimate practices education space, which was like a one-on-one kink space, casual, just conversations, panels, things like that. And then the next day we had a play party, and yeah, it was lit. And I, had to take a moment to sit back and be like, bitch, you did that. Like, you said that you were going to do it and you did. And people left feeling amazing, and people left with more education, and people left with a new idea about how to encourage erotic energy and pleasure in their lives. And that's all I can ask for. All I can ask for from saying, hey, come do this thing. Hope that you take something from it and it makes your life better, or that you can also teach someone else now that you have that knowledge. That's the biggest thing for me, is like, I just want to give this to you so that you can go give it to somebody else, and they can give it to somebody else, and they can give it to somebody else.
Yeah, that's how you create impact. I've just been so impact driven lately. I feel like when we die, we can't take anything else with us except the weight of our heart and the impact that we leave behind. That's it.
That's
That's all
it.
you take with you. So it doesn't matter how much money you make, what status you rise to, how many people you meet. It's just the impact in your heart. That's it. So I love that. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. I have thoroughly enjoyed your energy. Hopefully this will not be the last time that we connect. Um, your postcard from Spirit says, Dear you, uncertainty is the new normal for the whole world. Things are changing at a rapid pace, and the old ways we once trusted are no longer viable. But leaving the familiar behind can be a good thing. When you're pushed to step into the unknown, you are pulled forward into discovering new possibilities that have been hidden in plain sight. Check in with your higher power. Your soul knows better than your small self. Have faith, support of a higher power, and the infinite potential for your life. Right now, the advice we have for you is this: try something new, do something different. You won't know how it feels, what it looks like, or what the outcome will be if you do not take the first step into the unknown and experience the unfamiliarity. You'll be so glad you did, because the treasure will appear. We're so proud of you for being brave. You are so loved and so supported. Oh, sweet. So I'll definitely send you a photo of this so you have to
Please,
reflect.
please. Thanks. I needed to hear that so much. I felt it. And I knew that that was going to be the message, because that has been the message, like, has been the message. So I feel affirmed, and thank you so much. I'm about to cry again because that was so
Oh,
sweet. That was
well,
so
anything
good.
else that you would like to share with the people, and can you let them know where to find you if they are interested in your services?
Yes. So I'm on Instagram, and that profile is Energy of the Goddess, all one word, no spaces or anything like that. Same thing for Facebook, Energy of the Goddess. And then if you are a kinky or questioning, curious Black person in the Austin area, ATX BPP is a private group on Facebook. We're also on Instagram as ATX BPP, but it stands for Austin, Texas, Black Poly and Play. And yeah, it's for all folks that are interested in connecting with other people, as well as education and things like that. Um, and my website is, yeah, energyofthegoddess.com. It's all one word. You can find me there.
So make sure you guys find her at Energy of the Goddess on everything. I'll definitely pin all of her links in the description box of this video. You guys make sure that you thumbs up the video to get us into the algorithm, comment on the video to join the conversation, and maybe subscribe, okay? Because you got to come back for the next episode. Thank you so much again, Tierra. I do appreciate your time today. And
So,
I hope you have a good rest of your week, and I hope you have a good weekend.
thank you. So happy. Appreciate it.